Hello guys, and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you what shape keys are in Blender. So if you have no idea, I'm going to explain it to you in under 5 minutes, the fundamentals and the basics. This definitely isn't going to cover everything. There's a lot more that can be said. This is just simply putting it out there. So if somebody ever asks you what are shape keys, then you kind of have a general understanding of what they are and how to set them up in Blender. So that's what this video is, under 5 minutes. Let's get into it. So go ahead and open up a new scene in Blender. Now you could use the default cube, but we're just going to go ahead, hit A to select everything, and then X and delete. Let's go Shift A, go to our mesh options. We're going to add in a Suzanne monkey head. It's just very fun to play with and it has a lot of visual interest, and it's a very good demonstration. So let's take this monkey head here, and with this object selected, or any object you want to work with, we're going to go down to our tabs here. We're going to be clicking on this Object Data Properties tab. What we're going to see here is something called shape keys, and this is where we're going to do our shape keys. So if we hit plus initially with an object selected in Blender, it's going to create what's called our basis. Now the basis is just essentially what our shape keys are going to be using to compare where it originally was. So if you want everything to go back to a value of 0 where it was originally, it'll be going back to what the basis is. I'll quickly explain that. So if we hit plus past that point, it's going to start adding in what are called our keys. So here I added in a key, and by default it's just called key 1. So if this key selected, not the basis, but we want to make sure we select our key, we're going to come and tab into edit mode. And in edit mode, any vertice that we move around in 3D space, like this, okay? It doesn't matter what it is. If we move it around in the shape key here, and we tab out of edit mode, what we can do is come to this value, and if we make it 1, it'll be that effect all the way to 1. If we make it 0.5, it'll only be half that effect. And if we make it down to 0, it will have none of the effect. Now, what we don't want to do at any time is when we go into shape key, is we don't want to duplicate edges or faces or vertices. We also don't want to extrude anything. And we also don't want to add in any new geometry by adding in loop cuts. Once we've added in this basis, we don't want to do anything further. Now, one thing I can also mention here, as with the key 1 here selected, if you made this value 1, and you have an object that's completely symmetrical, which means it's the same on both sides with its topology, what you can do is increase this key value 1, this key 1 to a value of 1, come down here, you can go to New Shape from Mix, and you can click on this little tab again, and you can go to Mirror Shape Key. Now with this key 2, it is a perfect mirror of what we just did over here. And you can also click on this little X here, and it'll set everything back to 0 automatically. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if I quickly just get rid of these shape keys, whenever we go and we add a modifier, so for example, I had a subdivision surface modifier on here, and I went to my shape keys. If I went and added in a shape key here, and I just did something with this mesh over here, what I cannot do now is go to my if I went back to my modifiers, you cannot apply a modifier that has a shape key applied to it. So that is one thing you want to keep in mind. And that goes for most of the modifiers, I believe all of them. So tabbing back into edit mode, going to my shape keys here, I'm going to quickly just exaggerate some of this deformation here, just by pulling these vertices in a little bit more of extreme pose, just making it interesting, tabbing back out of edit mode. And I'm going to show you what we can also do. You can also take this value here, and say for example you come down here to your timeline. So I'll be on key 1 here. What I'm going to do is with this value at 0, I'm going to hit I to insert a keyframe. So hovering over this little tab, we can hit I to insert a keyframe, and then we can move over our timeline here. We can increase this value to whatever we want, and we can also hit I, and that's how we very simply add keyframes to this, and we can very quickly animate our shape key as well to give us some interesting effects without any sort of rigging. It does have its limitations, but they are useful. And that's been it as far as basic tips. I'm just going to keep it at that. So these are some fundamental things to introduce you to what shape keys are. I hope you're able to use them, and I hope you found this video useful.